is Charlie, but I've been wrestling for the last 9.5 years. This is Evie, so that's where most people know me from. I got into wrestling basically because my brother made me watch it. He introduced me to it when I was about 15, 16, which was probably a little later than most. And yeah, he always used to watch it on TV, and I used to give him a lot of crap for it because I didn't see the appeal at all. I enjoyed it. I particularly enjoyed the athleticism. My dad, he was very adamant that we were all going to lead an active background. Myself, my brother and sister. My granddad was actually an All Black, so yeah, New Zealanders praise that team, so it's pretty cool to have that in my bloodline. I represented my high school nationally in high jump, and then doing other sports as well, just because, you know, anything that I could do, I basically wanted to sign up. And yeah, I definitely think that how my dad raised us kids had a very, very strong sort of influence in the way that I wrestle. I like to use my speed a lot in the ring and my athleticism, so I thank him, even though he would force us to go probably 80% of the time he would force us to go, and then he would, you know, be down at the track so we couldn't sit out of anything. So, thanks Dad. I started training when I was 18, so a couple years after I was actually introduced to it, and that's when I really fell in love with it. It is definitely a lot harder than people assume, and I guess it was at that point that I really, really fell in love with it, and it sort of resonated in me as well because I had this active background, and then I was doing like all this training. It was really cool. I trained for 6 months before I had my first match. My first match was December 2007. My first match was actually an intergender tag, so there wasn't as much pressure there as you would have in like a singles match. So it was pretty good, and I was really, really nervous, like regardless. I've always been nervous. I've always been one of those people that would just not chill out before a match. I felt like I'd found my place in a sense, as corny as that sounds. And just hearing the crowd reaction for the first time when you step out there. I know it was a long time ago, but I do remember it. My friends were there as well. It was really cool. It's one of those things you don't really forget. I started wrestling for a company in Auckland called IPW. First match in December 2007. And there weren't many of us girls at the time. We worked with what we had basically. We just loved wrestling, so it wasn't anything that could really bother us at the time. I was just happy being able to perform, you know, monthly in front of my hometown with my friends. You know, we all got on super well. And it wasn't until 2011 where Madison Eagles, who helps run the promotion PWA and the women's promotion of PWWA, she actually contacted me because she wanted to get some of us Kiwi girls over for their big show. So we went over, and that was actually the first time that I A, wrestled internationally, and B, got my name out there. Those girls that were in PWA at the time, so Jessie McKay, who's now, you know, Billy Kay, Kelly Skater and Madison Eagles, and Nicole Matthews was on that show as well. Those girls are all in Shimmer, and that was my goal. I wanted to get in Shimmer. So that show really put me on the map. It helped me sort of to get out there and show my skill on an international sort of level, and that's really the point that changed a lot of things for me. I mean, I thank, you know, Madison for giving me the opportunity every day, because I wouldn't be here because of her. It wasn't until that show, that PWA show in 2011, where, you know, all those Shimmer girls were there, and I was like, oh my gosh, all these girls wrestle on Shimmer. Ah. And then Madison was talking to me going, you know, I think you've got something here. It wasn't until that point where she actually saw what I could do and believed in me that I was like, oh, this could actually be a thing. I can go to the States. I'd actually ordered some Shimmer DVDs because I'm like, I want to know more about this. And then in that package actually came like a handwritten note from Dave. And I was like, oh my God. And it was basically like, we want to get you over as soon as possible. Let me know what date works for you. And then I was freaking out, and I pretty much put that note on my corkboard and like idolized it because I thought that was so cool that he wrote that. And then I made my Shimmer debut the following year in 2013 in April, New Jersey. all my friends that basically had stayed up and they'd all chipped in on the pay-per-view. They were all tweeting me and like messaging me going, "You're doing amazing." So that was really cool that they'd stayed up to watch me sort of do that. After that Shimmer show was my first tour of Japan, which was pretty intimidating to be, you know, living there for 3 months, and it was very intense to what I was used to. But it opened my eyes to like sort of how other cultures treat wrestling. The Japanese treat it with a lot of respect and a lot of seriousness, basically. I wanted to keep getting these experiences. I was, you know, going to these different countries and learning about how all of these different cultures treated wrestling. I wanted more. That was when the opportunity came up to do the 2014 tryout. So WWE were doing a tour and they were holding a quite large tryout at the end of that year. So I basically put my name forward and then started relentlessly training like a crazy person. But at the end of the day, like nothing could have prepared anyone for that tryout. It was over 2 days. It was really intense. The feedback that I got was sort of like, "We've got nothing for you right now, but we'll keep you on our radar." And I took that and I was like, all right. So I did make a good impression, but I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing. So I just kept working on my craft, kept training, kept meeting new people, kept traveling to new promotions. In 2014, around the same time as the tryout that I did, I wrestled for the first time in Melbourne City Wrestling, which is now my home.
Evie has been one of the dominant females in New Zealand. She wants to take Australia by storm.
The following year, did the Fight Like a Girl tournament for the Vera and Jenny Memorial Cup, and then started a feud with Kelly Skater. The feud that I had with Kelly Skater, I think, really reiterated the talent that we do have here in Australia and New Zealand. It led up to that Falls Count Anywhere match. You know, it hadn't really been done in Australia before at that level. A lot of fans were really into it and they were really appreciative of sort of what we were doing in the ring and what we showed them that we could do. So that was a really, really cool moment after that match. Just getting that reaction and being able to wrestle Kelly Skater, who's, you know, one of my close friends in this business. It was really cool. And I think a lot of people were really almost thankful because, you know, you hear about all this women's revolution stuff and that obviously starts with indie wrestling. All those girls that were doing that on NXT are like the girls that probably used to be in Shimmer. You got Paige, you got Emma, you got Bailey. These girls are like bringing it up from the roots. At the end of that match, Kellyanne made her debut in Melbourne City Wrestling, and that's what started the feud between us. And that sort of almost capitalised on what Kelly Skater and I did. It turned into, you know, this feud with me and Kellyanne, who's an amazing, amazing wrestler. And she's also travelled, you know, to Mexico and the States, and she pushed me, she made me, you know, she challenged me as a wrestler. You know, we had all these singles matches and everything that we were doing at that time built up to December where we had the last woman standing match at Thornbury, and that match is hands down my favourite match to date, just because of the emotion that was involved as well as the fans that were there and everything that we did. It was just intense. It was amazing, and it got all this recognition on the international level. You got all this hype behind it, which was insane. And to me, we were just wrestling. I mean, like we were just doing what we do, but to get that sort of hype behind it and all this sort of recognition really just drove home how everything that we're doing helps sort of emphasize what we want women's wrestling to be, and that is, you know, we want to compete with the guys. We want to have it taken seriously. So that was really cool, the fact that match got out there. Tonight, I just had a match against Kellyanne, and she is, without a doubt, one of my toughest opponents to date. But regardless of the injuries, I came out on top, and I proved why I'm the #1 female here in MCW. So 2017 can throw whatever it can at me. Bring it on. A month before that match happened, I was in the States for Shimmer, and I got invited to the PC, and went there and trained with the girls. Didn't really think anything of it. It was a really cool experience. It was overwhelming, and then 2 days later I got the email that I've pretty much been waiting like all these years for, I guess. And I just opened the email and then just started bawling my eyes out. Like, I didn't stop for ages, and then everyone around me was going, oh my God, like, what's happened? They thought, you know, I had some bad news from home or something like that. And yeah, that's how that all started, I guess.
Because you're the first person from New Zealand to get signed, aren't you?
Well, first female ever from New Zealand, so yeah, when you put it that way, it's really overwhelming. Like, I know we're a small country to begin with, but there's a lot of people there that really care a lot about wrestling, and I know that with like training with all those guys, you know, you see TK Cooper and Dahlia, who are doing amazing things in progress, Travis Banks, who's taking over the UK scene, Aaron Henry, he's a young boy for New Japan at the moment, and Jay White, who's over there as well. It's like, there are a lot of people in New Zealand that really care about wrestling, so to be the first is really, there's a lot of responsibility there. But it's crazy. Like, I called my mum and my sister, and my dad doesn't have any social media, so but they were ecstatic and they were crying, and yeah, it was really cool. We're basically talking like 24 hours before my last independent match against Kellyanne, so it's gonna be strange. I guess going into that match knowing that it will be the last on this sort of level. The independent scene has given me so much over these years. Almost 10 years on the scene, it's given me a lot. It's given me a lot of friends, it's given me a lot of lessons, it's given me a lot of experience. And being able to take that all to this whole different world, it's a bit overwhelming, and I must say a little bit scary. And especially having it at Melbourne City Wrestling. I mean, MCW has been my family for these last couple of years, and they've welcomed me as one of their own, which is probably the best that any Kiwi could ask of any Australian fans. But MCW really has been my home, and it's sort of overwhelming to know that I'm going to be closing this chapter of my life tomorrow.
From Auckland, New Zealand, she is Evie!
Feel looking into the future. I kind of almost feel like I have to start afresh, but with all this experience that I've had, I'm sure it will help me in terms of doing what I do. I think that's it. I think I'm just going to go and just do what I do. I'm just going to wrestle, be me, and we'll see what happens. We'll see. It's really difficult looking that far ahead. I live in the moment, so I think I'm just going to be me. I'm going to stay true to myself. I'm going to just be what got me to this point, because I guess it worked, right?